I'm Dave Kaufman. I'm the major at the Salvation Army. We're located at 1155 East Flanagan Road in Coos Bay. We're standing in the future home of Hope Village. Take a good look right now because none of this will be here, hopefully by fall of 2024. This will be 8 transitional living homes. That's our hope. This project started as a dream for many in the community. Some members of my advisory board came to me and said that we have 5 acres. I was new, I didn't know, and they told me we have 5 acres. We were looking at the property and we looked at several locations and landed on this one. But at the end of the day, we were trying to be a part of the solution for homelessness here in Coos Bay and North Bend. The dream started coming alive when I started meeting with the Office of Homeless Response, and I met a gentleman named Bob Moore. He was with the Coquille Indian Housing Authority. And then he introduced me to Ann Cook and Lyman Mead, who are the executive director and the deputy director. They had some money that they received from the state to do homeless housing. And they wanted to partner with somebody in the community, and it happened to be the Salvation Army, and we started working together to bring this project about. We even have some unique ties to how we're going to do intake, to where 25% of the units are set aside for Native people in our region. Experience that we have as the Salvation Army is we have units like this all over the country. On any given night in the United States, the Salvation Army has more people under their roof than any other organization. So we're hoping to work with agencies such as AYA. We're going to work with South Coast Gospel. Bandon Dunes Charitable Foundation gave us a significant donation to help the laundry room. Other people, Ford Family Foundation has given us some funds to help remodel our current facilities. And Advanced Health helped with a big chunk of the funding for that. We appreciate them so much. Coos Health and Wellness provided cots and blankets, and so many people contributed to that. The other things that we provide here that have been long-time care for the community, we do food service out of our Hope Market, and that started as a small little food box operation, 30 families a week. Now that's up to 100 families a week now, and that's a big need in this community. It's rising as well. That's something we all need to be aware of. Hope Village is the culmination of a lot of people's dreams, but it's also the culmination of my personal journey. I was a product of Salvation Army. I was adopted at an early age. I was brought to a Salvation Army camp. There they loved me and they taught me so much about myself. I was embraced for many years. That's the dream for Hope Village too, that people will come here and they'll understand how much they're loved and cared for, that they're intrinsically valuable. We care about you and we want to enrich your life. That's what happened to me. That's what we want for Hope Village.
Yes, hi, I'm Adam Briggs, general contractor, owner of AB Innovations, LLC. And I am here to discuss our project up here in Gold Beach. It's a veterans housing project, funding from Oregon Housing and Community Services through their 2023-8 Veterans NOFA. My partner on this project is Brookings Corps Response. Executive Director is Diana Cooper. And we actually met down in Brookings, approached her and said, look, I have a little experience in trying to apply for this particular NOFA. I tried in 2022 and I had a couple small holes in my application, so I didn't get the funding. But she and I worked diligently together for at least 6 months to put our application together and got notice that we had a viable project. We just had to complete our reservation of funding checklist. Definitely want to add that myself and Brookings Corps Response had wonderful support from both the city of Gold Beach, and also we have a tribal entity, Talowa Tribe, who was supportive of this project as well. Everybody we've spoken with in the community thus far has offered their support to see veterans housing come to Curry County.
So we're looking to serve veterans, low-income veterans with this project. Specifically, we have a lot of veterans here who are without housing, so we're looking to support them. So it's 18 units. Some of those are 1 and 2 bedrooms, so it's possible that we could have a combination of families. A lot of people, I think, are just sort of single individuals in need of housing, but we do have some families here. We do have some families of choice. So there's sometimes it could be a veteran and, their sister that's with them or whoever that's living with them and helping with them. So this is permanent housing, but some people may just use this as a place to kind of get a foot up. So that's also great and what we hope to do. We are hoping to secure some vouchers from the Housing Authority so that the majority of these units can be already applied, HUD can already be applied to it. So then people aren't waiting on a wait list for a HUD voucher, and they're able to just move in and pay 30% of their income. So we're really hoping to target the lowest income folks with these units. So this is the site of our navigation center, so our Peer House Navigation Center. Peer House is our walk-in services program. So it's run by peers. It's fully staffed. We have volunteers. We have hygiene closet, clothing closet, a lot of walk-in services. We also can offer some referrals and things like that. And then, of course, referrals into our case management. We have health case management and housing case management. So site specifically will be housing our walk-in services and our healthcare services. So that includes our clinic, that includes our street medicine. We're hoping to get a shower trailer on here, so we'll have that a few days a week, take it up the coast a few days a week. This will serve as our home base, essentially.
My name is Brian Guinea, and I am the director of the Oregon Field Office for the United States Department of Housing and Urban Development. This is our third Rural Funding Housing Forum in Oregon. There's been more federal money for housing that's been deployed in the last 2 or 3 years than at least in the last decade. $27 billion in new funding alone this year through the Environmental Protection Agency that touches housing and HUD and USDA Rural Development. But these are really complicated programs, and they have a lot of requirements. If we want to see these funds deployed in our communities that have the greatest need, we have to come out to the communities and meet with partners face to face and give someone a contact, an actual human being inside the organization, so they can go back and actually apply for these funds, or else we're going to keep getting the results that we've gotten.
I'm very hopeful. I'm always excited to meet new resources and new community members and partners. So somebody like Marie Simons from Bandon Dunes Charitable Foundation, she has a lot of direct ties to boards and programs that CCD has been directly tied to, and she typically will always think about a way to bring CCD to the table, and I appreciate that because, again, we're a small nonprofit. We rely on those kind of connections and those relationships to make us be able to do the work and meet our mission and be at the table where we need to be. So again, that's what brought me here and introduced me to some key partners and some upcoming opportunities that we're excited to be a part of. CCD as an organization, we're here, we do a lot of great work and make a lot of impacts, but we're not somebody you can come to and take a project from A to Z. We count on our partners and we count on our relationships that are met. And these programs and services that come from federal and state level, we need them. If we didn't have them, things would not happen within our small community.
So as a developer, we presented at the funding forum and gave a little bit of information about the project and the project needs. And then we went from different federal and state agencies, one at a time, even down to local agencies, and talked about different supports that the different agencies might be able to provide for the provision of housing. All of the different projects that were presented, all were looking for infrastructure dollars into support of the rural communities. Creating buildable lands that are ready to construct new housing on is the crucial component needed. In looking at all the different projects, if we could just get infrastructure dollars going and get the properties ready to build, we could attract both state and private funding to get the housing under construction.
Today we had a really amazing opportunity with doing a HUD funding forum where we were able to not only showcase some of the local projects that are underway here in Coos County, but we're also able to bring in funders from not only HUD, but also different federal and state agencies, as well as local agencies that also have a part on the table. And so it was really amazing to be able to showcase the work that's being done, but then also have each funder talk specifically about how their work or their funding sources that they manage could interface directly into those projects. And so the forum itself went really good. I think really the magic of it comes in these sidebar conversations that happen during the breaks and afterwards during the tours. But overall, I think it was a really good event, and I believe it helps also not only showcase what we're doing, but also bring energy into the work that we're doing again. I think I'm most encouraged by not only just, again, the community will to be able to do this work, but also the cohesion. Oftentimes when we're talking about housing and shelter and these different services and different work that needs to be done, You're talking about competitive resources that each of these projects will be going for. And even though we know that we're still going to be competing for the same dollars in some cases, we're not competing. We're working together to try to help each other leverage that funding into this region so that we can collectively build each other up and do this work.
So the multi-unit property tax exemption, which we're going to shorten that to MUPTI because that's a lot of words. We've been working on it about a year. What it involves is some groundwork with all of the local jurisdictions who are overlapping taxing within our community, kind of getting their buy-in, because the bigger picture is about housing. How do we support that in our community? And I think everyone acknowledges we have a shortage. So essentially what happens when you have this program implemented, all of the overlapping taxing districts agree to forego the property taxes that would be assessed on new development. So as it stands right now, that land is not developed. They're still receiving the taxes that are assessed on the land. We're just asking them to set aside those dollars into a pool that would encourage a developer to come in and build a multi-unit property. Say on $1 million project, that's going to amount to roughly $17,000 tax savings a year. The program's intended to support that 10-year period, so you can see how that would make a difference in penciling out how a project might make good sense. Well, I think we have a couple of projects that are kind of sitting in the wings, and they're just waiting for, just a little bit of a lift to get them going. I think this can be that. I think there's also opportunity. This would fit for even redevelopment. So there may be some properties within these core areas that with just a little bit of love can be put back into circulation and bring some much needed housing to the community. I think we all see that we're ready to add some houses here in our community, and it's about finding ways that the city can add to this. We're obviously not house builders, we're not home builders, but we do recognize that we can work with our partners, that's those overlapping taxing districts, to find a way that we come together and those dollars all support the next project in Coos Bay. The really exciting thing about getting this program up and running here in Coos Bay is we've got examples of what this has done in other communities. This was, although a long period of time for us to get it up and going, a relatively easy lift to get this accessible for affordable housing development in our community. And we are just excited for some people to start asking questions and plugging people into the answers.
I'm Scott Cooper. Today we're out at the Old Charleston School in Coos Bay. We've had this project for about 2 years. We started with the Bureau of Labor and Industry Trades program, specifically in renewable energy. In the last 6 months, we've added on 6 units, which is pretty quick for construction. There is a total of 15 units here. They are for youth struggling with housing right now, and their families, and also workforce housing we have in here. It's important to build housing for youth. In our area, we've got about 400 kids that are unstably housed right now in our county. This is a problem. It's under 1% vacancy rate. It's tough for doctors and lawyers to find housing here, let alone youth with no rental history. So we need to get out in front of it, think about it now, and hopefully change the tide. So in the future, what we're looking for is we're looking to do something that often is referred to as youth build. We want to take youth, put them in the trades program, have them build the housing. One of the statements that we like to say, youth that are building subsidized housing will never have to live in them because they'll be making a living wage. We're using some alternative methods to try to hit net zero housing and prepare for the future because it seems like our world is changing pretty quick.
It's important to us to teach applied skills that a student can learn the transferable skill set here, go out into the trades and be able to apply that and be work ready. Be ready to be trained by the employer who wants you to take that next step up. This program became because Allie McGeehan, the Vice President of Instruction, saw a need in the community for people to develop skills that are transferable, to develop skills that will help them be successful, that they can use as they move forward. So apprenticeship is big. To get the skills for apprenticeship, pre-apprenticeship, foundational skills, So introduction to construction means applied math skills. It means being able to read a tape measure. It means knowing how to be work ready, how to show up on a job site. How do you interview? Simulated training is really big right now. Our simulators can simulate all kinds of heavy equipment. Heavy equipment operation is, what I've been told, a dying art. It's really important to get operators in the field. So our simulators, they remind me of a giant video game. When I took my job, I was so surprised at these machines that have 3 TV screens in front. Pretty soon we'll have one in the back. They simulate actual operation of the equipment. They simulate safety checks. They simulate sitting in the machine and knowing how to operate, pay attention to what is around you. They also have the transferable skills that move from one machine to another. So a student can learn how to operate a forklift, and then they can learn how to operate a bulldozer. In our area, it's really important to know how to operate an excavator and a forwarder. Long-term goals are to continue those foundational aspects. So right now we have the career and college readiness focus. We have the long-term goal of sustainability in our community. With additional funding, we can lay down those extra tracks. We do the introduction to construction, we have heavy equipment operation. What's really great is with additional funding, we can look toward electrical, we can look toward plumbing and HVAC. We are actually looking at bringing in actual heavy equipment so that we lay the foundational skills with our simulators, and then we really get people out and operating.
I'm Forrest Neuberg, the city manager of Coquille, Oregon. So there was a school up here that was open in Coquille for many years, and then the city traded it for another parcel. But as you know, old buildings can be difficult to redevelop, and it had some hazmat and those kind of things. Nothing really bad, but City Council agreed to make the decision to tear it down. The general idea is that it would create an opportunity for some new housing in the community. So we started to talk about what kind of housing we needed for our community. I did suggest to our council that we get a workforce housing needs assessment. Do we really need workforce housing? Do we need low-income housing? That kind of thing. And so we hired Leland Consulting. I was really happy to get them again, and they'd done some previous work in the city, so they did this study. And basically, we found out that we definitely needed more workforce housing. A lot of our higher paid workers don't live in Coquille. Now, talking to the employers, they're like, well, our employees would love to live here, but a lot of times they don't have the time to, say, buy a house and fix it up. And that represents a lot of the market that's currently available in Coquille is houses that they're fine, but they do need some TLC. So, you know, we looked at the numbers and we talked to our partners and we said, okay, we definitely need to do some workforce housing, and the study supported that very strongly. So we had a few different ideas, and Jefferson School is the first parcel that we're gonna try to implement this workforce housing plan on. You know, and it really is an economic development decision also, because when you live in a community, you go to the grocery stores, you go to the stores, the shops, you know, it's really a way to build our community and add more residents who will, in the end, spend money here. And, you know, in the All Ships Rise category, that's really going to help our community.
My name is Matthew Vorderstrass. I'm the Executive Director of the North Bend City Coos Curry Housing Authorities. The Gold Beach project we're really excited for. This is an opportunity for the Coos Curry Housing Authority to begin developing more units down in Curry County. The site that we acquired through land acquisition program funds from the state of Oregon, a finance loan from NOAA, and then also a share grant from All Care CCO to help cover that gap. And so collectively between those three sources, we were able to acquire the Ellensburg site in Gold Beach. Currently the plan is to renovate that site into 26 permanent supportive housing units that are going to be prioritized for seniors that have experienced homelessness or are at risk of homelessness. The reason for that is because we've found that the senior population is one of the fastest growing segments of the homeless community, and many of these individuals that are low income are on fixed incomes and they cannot keep up with the raising rental rates. So we're really excited to have this opportunity to develop a site in Curry County. We're even more excited that the site will allow us to nearly triple the amount of units that we have in Curry. And so the plan is after we finish up with North Bend Family Housing, to begin developing this site and building units down in Curry and just trying to change lives.
Curry County is ranked either number 1 or number 2 in the state for having the high age groups. And so our seniors will benefit from this amazing project. We can't let our seniors in Curry County be left unhoused. And with the problems that have happened in the aftermath of COVID, we certainly can see that trend. We have to nip it in the bud. I'm Connie Hunter, and I'm with the Coos Curry Housing Authority, and I've been on the commission this is going into my 2nd term. So I'm very excited that the Ellensburg property project in Gold Beach for affordable housing is finally coming to fruition. It was a vision that I had before I ever even understood how housing authorities worked, and with some guidance along the way and participation in the housing authority and seeing that grow and come to fruition, I'm thrilled. And that's probably the best word I can say. Its time has come and is overdue, but we're on it. And I'm so grateful for the staff at the Housing Authority for all the hard work that they've done to put this funding package together. Talk about this project without giving thanks to our community partners and All Care in particular, who pushed us over the finish line with some additional funding and helped us get this goal started.
Several years ago, Administrator Pagano, when he was in another role, looked at every property he could find that was somewhat vacant in Gold Beach and finally found an industrial piece of property owned by our local garbage company. And he talked to them about possibly selling it, and they said, well, we want to retain a piece of it. So we agreed to purchase it, 2/3 of it, and they would retain 1/3. So we're pretty excited about the project, and the location is in the Hunter Creek area, which is about a mile from downtown Gold Beach. Design is for workforce housing, which is above the 80% area median income, which most affordable housing is 60 to 80 or lower, and upwards of 200% of the area median income, because the hospital is one of our partners and they have a lot of employees. Even though they make fairly decent wages for the area, they can't buy a place and they can't rent a place, and so that becomes a barrier for them having long-term employees. So the goal is to be a partner with the hospital, and we've talked to our mental health entity, which is called ADAPT, and they are interested in partnering as well. We're trying to get a grant to pay for the road, the water, the sewer, the electric, and the other utilities that would go to the property. And that's about an $875,000 ask, because if we can get it in a grant, it'll lower the cost per unit. Our goal is to sell the units, have a developer come in, build them, and sell them so that people can afford their own home. Our housing solution is complicated. It's a big puzzle, and we've had to work outside the box, try to find different solutions. I get a lot of advice, hey, just find somebody else that's done the same thing and just follow it. And I can't find anybody that has done what we're doing. And so we're going to keep notes and share that with people once we get it done. And in a perfect world, we'd be building this year. But since we don't have that first piece, it'll probably be next year. And we need to find that grant in order to make it happen.
My name is Ken Nice, and I am the managing director at Bandon Dunes, and I've been here at Bandon Dunes now for 25 years. We are at the Staff Housing Village at Bandon Dunes currently. We kind of call it the campus, Staff Housing Campus. We have the dormy houses under construction, one almost completed, one still in the process. Came to be with just the need for more staff housing, more workforce housing at Bandon Dunes. And we'd completed a project behind us that had single units. This just created more efficiencies in terms of the space we had and construction costs. I know we'll get into that more, but it created more affordable housing, a little easier project for us to execute than some of the ones in the past. Different workforce housing at Bandon Dunes. Certainly Bradley Lake is a unique site. That wasn't as straightforward as the dormy houses will be. The luxury is just, you're into clean construction. You're not finding flaws with everything you go. You know, it was an executed construction from the process starting from ground up. When the Dormy House is completed, we will have 318 units, 318 beds. Currently, we have 110 people on the waiting list, variety of caddies and just employees. And it is vital to the success of Bandon Dunes. And not just Bandon Dunes, but the overall community. At this point, I'm sure that workforce housing at Bandon Dunes will continue. The overall concept of affordable housing is such an important aspect. I think that's the one thing I always look at Mr. Kaiser and I'm like, boy, he had a vision well ahead of the curve. And where would we be today right now if we didn't have 318 units for people to live in? I can assure you Bandon Dunes wouldn't have the staff it has, the quality of people. You know, the other aspect that is really key, affordable housing allows folks with, you know, entry-level jobs to be able to save money and to start to get ahead and then establish their lives. And I think that's one of the things Mr. Kaiser, above all, has done for not just new employees here in workforce housing, but just everybody. Plants the seed where you have the opportunity to save, or, you know, whether it's 401k, whether it's staff housing, it's allowing people the opportunity to progress and establish a life. You know, here we are today, and Matt brought the concept to Mr. Kaiser, and Mr. Kaiser was on board, and he, above anybody, knows the value and the necessity for affordable housing in our area.
Hi, I'm Matt Welter. I'm the owner of Dormy House LLC. So this vision came to be when I first took a trip out to one of Mr. Kaiser's properties in Nova Scotia, Cabot. It's a town with one street. So I started asking all the employees, because I used to be a professional caddy, started asking all the employees where they live. And they were telling me these stories about how they have to drive in from 45 minutes away, or they were sharing a house with strangers that were renting out their house, or they were living in a garage or out of their car. All these different stories. And one of the things that, you know, I came to realize was through my life experiences was how many people actually are employed at a resort like a Cabot or a Bandon Dunes or a Disney. There's the front of house people that you see, 10 to 15 of them, but there's another 1,200, like in Bandon's case, making the place run like a well-oiled machine. So came home and got with an architect and said, this is what I need to design. I know I don't want to go more than 2 stories, and, you know, just got into the efficiencies of the project. And in time, knew this project was specifically for Mr. Kaiser, because I knew that all of their properties were in remote locations, and knew that they would need somebody to aid in their effort to solve their workforce housing problem. Because it's not just good for the people who work here, but, you know, it makes the HR department's life easier. It makes Ken Nice's life easier. It makes the employee's life easier. And in the end, it makes the experience for the consumer that much better.
I grew up in Reedsport, and when I was looking to do some development in the area, I came across this piece of property and had heard that there had been some plans for development for a number of years, decades even, but nobody had actually done anything. So I purchased the property and talked to the city about, you know, how can we make development happen here? And there was some opportunity to bring it into the urban renewal district to help out with some financial tools that might help make it go. Armed with that, I was able to go to a developer, Prism Development, and talk to them about the opportunity here in Reedsport, and was able to recruit them, introduce them to the city, and they bought on, and they built some amazing apartments here in Reedsport that were desperately needed. So Reedsport hasn't seen any significant multifamily units built since the late 70s. This is a big deal for Reedsport. A lot of the impediments to attracting more business and more citizens and more families was just lack of workforce housing. So this is a huge deal for Reedsport to bring 72 units of workforce housing, not low income, not luxury, but real workforce housing to the city. And it's filled up really fast. Russ Lewis and Prism Development were an ideal developer for this project. They'd had experience building these types of projects in smaller communities, mostly in the Valley. So they knew what they were doing. They'd already done it before. They had their team in place, including contractors and subcontractors. With the city being willing to partner with Prism Development, they were able to help with the infrastructure, including the roads, including water and sewer, getting power to the location, which really helped the developer to bring the project on board, build something that we could keep rents low enough that it truly was workforce housing.
I'll be honest, I didn't know much about Reedsport when Rob came to us about 5 years ago now. But I learned quickly, he's from here, so he educated me, said it's a great place. They need housing desperately, and I have a piece of property for you. Let's go. I'm Russ Lewis, one of the owners of Prism Development. When Rob said, look, I born and raised here, I still know everybody there. I know the people at the city. I know everybody. And I'm going to help you navigate through the early stages of the project to get it off the ground and get all the help I can get you from city and county and state. He was a big part of all those incentives, lining them up, making sure they were ready to go. The SDC's, system development charges, being waived by the city of Reedsport, that was a huge, huge thing. It made the project doable, to be honest. That's a huge expense for a developer in any other city. And when Reedsport said, we won't charge you anything, that's how badly we need the housing, that's how much we want you here for this development, for this project, that was a huge step forward right from the beginning. That made it more available for us to consider. We had a great piece of property here, but not a great street right in front of it. So you spend a lot of money on beautiful new apartments, but you have a street that's less than desirable, a lot of potholes and things going on there. When the city said, we can access some dollars from the county and some urban renewal dollars, and developing that street, having a partner in the city and county to bring a brand new street to us in front of our project was another huge, huge advantage.
There were a lot of conversations between the city manager and Rob about what the needs are here in the city of Reedsport. I think we really settled on the workforce housing, middle income housing. The city recently did a housing needs analysis and we came up with basically the same thing. And I think that's what this project really represents. I think one of the concerns of the developer was that they could develop this really great complex here in the city of Reedsport, but they're going to be entering on streets that are derelict, basically. So the city, we kind of went to bat and we used some urban renewal dollars, and then we approached the county about getting a grant from them for basically doing the infrastructure. We were able to do a lot more than we had originally thought that we could by partnership and getting the funds together and being able to really reconstruct the street. I think one of the reasons that Reedsport has so much going on right now is because there was a lot of stuff put in place. There were a lot of codes put in place through the city. There were developments that were designed or ready to go. So when we started seeing the need for people to relocate in different areas, especially after the COVID time, I think a lot of people started shifting and moving. We had those things in place already, and so we were able to get shovel-ready projects out the door. There seems to be a lot of interest right now on the South Coast.